Hollywood has seen its share of scandals, but this one feels different. One of the most mysterious actors of the 1980s is now at the center of explosive accusations involving control, assault, fraud, and emotional distress. And the details? They read like something out of a psychological thriller. But here's where it gets complicated. Because the man being accused says he was actually the victim. And now, two completely different stories are colliding in court. The headlines hit fast. A former girlfriend of Crispin Glover has filed a lawsuit accusing him of battery, fraud, wrongful eviction, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. According to the complaint, she claims she was manipulated, isolated, and eventually physically attacked. The filing paints a disturbing picture. It alleges she was groomed, promised a new life in Los Angeles, and drawn into what she describes as a controlling and damaging situation. Even more serious, she claims she was physically assaulted when trying to retrieve her belongings after being locked out of his home. These aren't minor accusations. They're career-altering claims. But almost immediately, a very different narrative emerged. Glover's representatives didn't hesitate. They called the lawsuit baseless. In their statement, they claimed that on March 2, 2024, Glover was actually the victim of an unprovoked felony assault at his Los Angeles residence. According to them, he contacted law enforcement. Officers arrived, investigated, and the woman was arrested. They say there are official records to support this version. They also point to a restraining order he filed at the time. So now we're left with two completely opposing accounts. One side claims captivity and assault. The other claims self-defense and fabrication. And the timeline leading up to that confrontation only adds more tension. According to the complaint, the two first connected back in 2015 through social media. The woman, described as a model from the UK, alleges that Glover made unusual advances early on. She claims he encouraged her to move to Los Angeles and promised opportunities in the entertainment industry. Years later, they allegedly met in person in Germany. From there, she says promises intensified, talk of housing, career opportunities, and working as his assistant. In 2024, she relocated to Los Angeles. And that's when, according to the lawsuit, things shifted dramatically. She claims she found herself financially dependent and increasingly controlled. The filing alleges she was tracked, isolated, and expected to fulfill personal demands in exchange for shelter and support. These are serious claims, but they remain allegations. Still, what allegedly happened next escalated everything. The complaint describes a moment in early March that changed everything. She says she left the house to attend a mosque. When she returned, she claimed she was locked out. No notice. No warning. According to her, she suddenly found herself without access to the home, effectively homeless. Then came the most alarming allegation. She claims that when she attempted to retrieve her belongings, including her pets, Glover physically attacked her, placing her in a headlock and leaving visible marks on her neck. That's her version. But remember, his legal team insists the confrontation went the other way. And the legal battle didn't stop there. After the incident, Glover filed a restraining order. According to the lawsuit, she claims that restraining order was malicious and fraudulent, and that news of it spread online, causing permanent damage to her reputation. She alleges the order was eventually dismissed for failure to prosecute. Meanwhile, Glover's side says the documentation supports his innocence and shows he acted lawfully. This is where things become murky. Because once legal filings go public, public opinion often forms before facts are fully examined. And in Hollywood, reputation can collapse overnight. But this controversy hits differently when you consider Glover's long-standing relationship with the industry itself. Crispin Glover has never been a typical Hollywood figure. Fans remember him as George McFly in Back to the Future, but behind the scenes, he famously clashed with the studio. When he refused to return for the sequel over contract disputes, the studio used prosthetics and another actor to replicate his likeness. Glover sued and won. That case changed industry rules about image rights. For decades, he's been known as eccentric, outspoken, even rebellious against the Hollywood system. Some see him as an artistic purist. Others see unpredictability. Now, with these new allegations, that outsider persona is being viewed through a very different lens. And online? Speculation is already spreading. It's important to note, speculation is not proof. Rumors are just that, rumors. But in today's social media climate, narratives move faster than courtrooms. And that leads to the biggest question of all. When private relationships intersect with celebrity power, things become complicated. Fans are divided. Some believe the lawsuit reveals something deeply troubling. Others believe it's a fabricated attack on a controversial public figure. The truth will ultimately be determined in court. But regardless of the outcome, this case highlights something bigger: how quickly public perception forms, how fragile reputations are, and how conflicting stories can exist at the same time. And when both sides claim to be the victim, the line between truth and narrative becomes razor thin. Right now, this remains an active legal battle. A jury trial has been demanded. Evidence will be examined. Claims will be challenged. Until then, all we have are allegations, denials, and two completely different versions of what happened behind closed doors. But one thing is certain: this case could reshape how fans view one of Hollywood's most enigmatic actors. And the real story? It may only just be beginning.